students. Today we are going to learn the second part of F block elements, that is actinoids, and also I have included few questions related to the applications of D block elements. Okay, so the session is related to actinoids and applications of D block elements. So let us start with the first question. The primary reason the actinoid contraction is greater from element to element compared to the lanthanoid contraction is. See, when you compare lanthanoids and actinoids, in lanthanoids you have 4F, right? 4F orbitals are filled, and in actinoids 5F orbitals are filled, right? So these 5F orbitals or 5F electrons are poorer shielders when compared to 4F electrons. Okay, so if the shielding is more poor, then what happens? Nucleus will have a stronger pull on the outer electrons, correct? So it is due to poor shielding. What happens? The actinoid contraction becomes greater. Okay, that means the 5F electrons provide poor shielding, resulting in a stronger pull on the outer electrons by the nucleus. Okay, next. Which of the following statements best describes the difference in electronic configuration between americium and curium? Okay, so if you look at their configuration, both have actually half-filled configuration, that is F7 configuration they have. So if you consider americium, the outer electronic configuration will be 5F7 and then 7s2. But when you consider curium, so still it is 5F7, but one more electron will go to 6d. Okay, so 6d1 you will get, and then 7s2. Okay, that means both will have this 5F7 configuration. So first option it is given, both maintain a stable 5F7 configuration, but curium accommodates its additional electron in 6d subshell. Yes, that itself is the correct answer. Okay, next. What makes thorium an exception in the general electronic configuration trend of actinoid series? So actually when you consider actinoids, this 5F subshell has to be filled, right? So first one, it is actinium. So actinium is a D block element. So in this, F orbital will not be filled. But after this, you will get thorium with atomic number 90. But in thorium also, if you observe the electronic configuration, its outer electronic configuration is 6d2 7s2. Okay, here actinium is 6d1 7s2. Actually, what happens in case of lanthanoids, here it will be next 4F will be filled and one electron will be in D, then S, like that. But here, both the electrons are there in 6D. Okay, so 4F is not filled here. Fine. I mean 5F. 5F is not filled here. Okay, so this is the configuration and this is an exception because being a element of actinoid series, there should be 5F orbitals, but we don't observe that here. Okay, so here the formal addition of electrons to the 5F subshell does not begin with thorium. Okay, it will begin from the next element. Yeah, next one. The study of the latter members of the actinoid series is rendered highly difficult by a combination of which two factors? Okay, so here you know that all the actinoids are radioactive, right? Those are radioactive, and in radioactivity we know something about half-life, correct? So if you observe the latter members, actually initial members, when you see, they have long half-lives, Okay, so when half lives are long, at least we can study them a little. But when latter members you consider, they'll have extremely short half lives. Okay, like from days to minutes. Okay, it is very less, and they can be prepared only in very less quantity, that is in nanogram quantities. Okay, so these factors make it highly difficult to study these elements. So it is this one. They are extremely short half lives, and the fact that they can only be prepared in nanogram quantities. Next, which of the following factors is primarily responsible for the greater range of oxidation states observed in actinoids compared to lanthanoids? So, when we have these greater range of oxidation states, it means that more number of electrons are participating in bond formation, right? So, usually we say that only the outermost shell electrons will participate, correct? But we observed in D block elements, both S and D electrons will participate. There it is due to small energy gap between D and S orbitals, right? Similarly, here also, if you observe the energy gap between F, D and S, okay, that is 5F, 6D and 7S. So between these, they have small energy gap. Okay, that means all those have comparable energies. So it is easy to remove the electrons from all these, and hence they have variable oxidation states. Yeah, so this is the answer. The 5F, 6D and 7S energy levels being of comparable energies. Okay, nearly same. Yes, next. An actinoid metal is subjected to various chemical reagents. Okay, which of the following outcomes is correct? Fine. So consider any actinoid element and imagine that it is subjected to various chemical reagents given in the options here. So first one, you see, it reacts with alkalis to form complex protective oxide layers. No, it's not correct, because when you consider metals, metals are alkaline in nature, right? So they do not react with alkalis. Okay, so they do not react. That's why this first statement is incorrect. Then second one, boiling water reacts with the metal to yield mixture of oxide and hydride. Yes, this is true. Boiling water, when you take, it reacts with actinoid metal to give its oxide and hydride. Okay. Then C says it requires extremely high temperatures to combine with most nonmetals. So we don't need this high temperature, moderate temperature will be sufficient. Then D says it completely dissolves in nitric acid but is unaffected by hydrochloric acid. Actually, it is unaffected by nitric acid because of the formation of oxide layer. Right? Okay. Next. Why is the lanthanoid contraction currently considered more important than the actinoid contraction in terms of its extended effects on succeeding elements? Okay. See, when I consider lanthanoid contraction, we talk about its effect, right? Its effect will be on which elements? 5D series elements, right? So lanthanoid contraction has its effect on these 5D series elements, and we talk about the effect of that contraction when we study these 5D series elements. But when you consider actinoid contraction, so after these actinoids, we have 6D series, we have the elements, but those elements are newly discovered elements. They are newly discovered, and hence the reactions of all those newly discovered elements are not completely studied yet. Okay, So it is like their chemistry is less known. So we are not bothered much about actinoid contraction. Okay. So see the first option, the chemistry of the element succeeding the actinoids is much less known at the present. Yes, that itself is the answer. Next. Okay, so far we discussed the questions related to actinoids. Now it is related to the applications of D block elements. Okay, so see the question: which of the following catalyst process pairings is incorrectly matched? Okay, so first one, it is iron Haber's process, production of ammonia. Yes, it is correct. And V2O5 catalyzes the oxidation of SO2. Yes, it is from SO2 to SO3. That is correct. Then TiCl4 with AlCH3 thrice. Yeah, this is Ziegler catalyst. Correct. Manufacture of polythene. That means D must be incorrect. So D says PDCl2 catalyzes the polymerization of alkynes and other organic compounds such as benzene. No, it's not correct. PDCl2 is used in Wacker's process in order to convert ethyne to ethanol. Ethyne to ethanol. And for this process, polymerization of alkynes and other organic compounds, we use nickel complexes as catalysts. Okay, so that statement is incorrect. Next, what is the actual composition of contemporary UK silver and copper coins respectively? So UK silver means it is copper and nickel alloy, and copper coins are copper coated steel it is. Okay, so it is option A. Next. Yeah, so here we have the Wacker process. What specific chemical transformation takes place and which catalyst facilitates it? Just now we discussed, right? So it is the oxidation of ethyne to ethanol using PDCl2 catalyst. Next one. The production of iron and steels involves the reduction of iron oxides, removal of impurities, and the addition of carbon along with specific alloying metals. Which set of alloying metals are added? See, first we obtain iron, then in order to make steel, we add carbon, and along with carbon, we add certain other metals. Okay, so the metals are chromium, manganese, and nickel. Again, these are the D block elements, that is 3D series elements. Okay, next one. Match the following transition metal compounds with their specific industrial applications. So here it is given as 1, 2, 3, and here A, B, C. So first one, if you consider, that is titanium oxide, TiO. So that is used in pigment industry. So one must be C. Then 2, MnO2, it is used in dry battery cells. So 2 is B. And AGBR, in photographic industries. So 3 is A. 1C, 2B, and 3A. So this is the answer. So that's all for today, students. I hope this video was helpful. Like, share, and subscribe. See you next time. Thank you.